Did you hear the breaking news that Marie Kondo has fallen off the wagon? Yes, friends, it's true. The queen of tidying says that she is no longer tidying her home. And so if she can fall off the wagon, what's stopping us from also just letting it all go? Well, I have a few tips to keep us safe and secure as we get back to the basics of decluttering. Well, hello friends, I'm Mary Beth with At What Cost, where simple living and deep faith go hand in hand. And yes, in my last video, I explained that my number one tactic to get back on the wagon was going to be going on vacation. And let me tell you, friends, it was incredible. It was hands down the best thing I could have done for my decluttering. I got on a plane. I went to Mexico with some very incredible ladies, and I had the kind of rest and change in perspective that I desperately needed. But do you have to travel to Mexico, all the way to Mexico, to get your decluttering back on track? The answer is, of course, no. That's not the only way to do it. It is one way to do it, but it's not the only way. The key is gaining a new perspective on our homes. You know, when we are in the routine, day in and day out, we see our homes in all the same ways. It just starts to fade into the background. We start to lose sight of all that we have, not the feelings. That's the important part. The feelings that all of that stuff produces, we don't lose track of that, but we start to really not be able to see what we actually have and where it all is. Leaving our home for just a little while can help us gain a new perspective. In fact, the last time I had a huge surge of decluttering back in 2019 was after a week-long vacation with my husband, where we were away from our home in a very different environment for an entire week. Now, I'm not saying that that's the answer, but I am saying I am completely willing to test that theory in the future. I'm just saying. But what if you can't afford a vacation right now? How else can you change your perspective? Well, there's a very easy, simple, and incredibly cheap way to do it. Take some pictures. Take lots of pictures. Take wide angle pictures of your rooms. Take pictures of the insides of your cabinets, your closets, your drawers. Take lots and lots of pictures and then spend some time looking at them. Look at the spaces. Take note of the areas where things are kind of piling up or areas where things are not so piled up. And then decide which area do you want to work on first. This kind of perspective shift can really help us get into a new frame of mind when we start to tackle our stuff. But wait, there's more. This is a great tool to document the changes happening in your home. It can feel discouraging sometimes when we have decluttered an area, we feel like we've moved a lot of stuff out, and when we look back, it just doesn't seem like we've made all that much progress. But having those pictures of your spaces when they are in full clutter mode can really help us remember what things looked like a month ago, a year ago, or maybe in my case, 3 years ago, because there was a time when my house did not feel like it does today. And nothing will give us a fresh perspective like looking at where we have been and where we are now. For the good or the bad, it can be very motivating. Now that's a good way to jumpstart your decluttering journey, but what do you do when you feel like you're starting over again, and how do you stay on the wagon? This seems to be the issue that Marie Kondo is having, that was just kind of breaking news that she had given up on tidying. But that's not the whole story. In fact, a lot of what she was saying is that after having her third child, tidying became less important and spending time with her children became more important in this season of life. Her house is messy and she's okay with that. Well, you know what? Good for her. I'm glad she's okay with it. My house is messy and I am not okay with it. And this is the part where all of you excuse the mess, the children are making memories folks are probably going to click off the video, because I think that that line of thinking is total garbage. I think it's just hot garbage. And if that's you, that's fine. I think everyone needs to find their tribe. If hearing that kind of message and living in that way makes you feel good, that's great. But if you've made it this far into the video, that's not your tribe and that is okay. For me, that kind of mess makes me feel nuttier than squirrel crap. Yes, I said it. There, that's it. The toothpaste is out of the tube. Now, many of you know, and I don't talk about it a whole lot, and I will probably not talk about it a whole lot in the future, but in a very small way, this plays into our minimalism journey. I have 3 children who are on the spectrum. They also came from foster care and living in an environment for all of their lives before coming to us that was incredibly chaotic, had no routine, and was just, it was just crazy all of the time. That felt very normal for my children, but that normal was not healthy, especially for children with special needs who need things like routine and predictability and security. All children need these things, but for our children, a cluttered environment took them to a place that was just not healthy for any of us. And I realized that the more stuff we had, the more anxious I felt, and I was just miserable. I mean, miserable, really, really miserable. And I didn't quite understand why. Enter minimalism. It was like a whole new world, a whole new world. Having less really meant that I had less to manage, and it was great. But what I didn't expect was the connection to my faith, which brings me to our second tip. And let me tell you, friends, this one is huge for staying on the decluttering wagon. The tip is to really create a landing zone for you. Not your keys, not your purse, not your charging station, but a landing zone for you. This is my landing zone. This is the place where I come just about every morning. This is the place that at the beginning of my minimalism journey, I vowed to keep clean, free from clutter, and to maintain. And I'm happy to report that even 3, almost 4 years later, this area tends to be the place that I really work hard to ensure that it doesn't get built up with a bunch of stuff. And what's the purpose behind this landing place? How does this actually help you stay on the wagon? This is the place where almost all of my Bible study takes place. I get up early in the morning. I have a video on my morning routine that I can link below, but this is the place where I am doing a majority of my Bible study. I start my day here. I typically end my day here. And it's a place that, regardless of how the rest of our house feels, okay, it can be kind of chaotic and crazy in here sometimes. But regardless of how the rest of our house feels, this is a place where I can feel peace, rest, and the kind of calm that comes with a clutter-free space. It's a mental landing pad, and I believe that it is key in staying the course when we are looking for a more simplified life. Now, the next tip is to work on your pain point. Side note, if you are going the route of a decluttering vacation, a massage can help a lot with those pain points, but this is a different kind of pain point. We are going to talk about these a lot in some upcoming videos, but these are the areas of your home that feel like they are sucking the life out of you. They are the time suckers, the things that you just seem to encounter over and over and over again, and you don't really feel like you're making any headway. You feel like you take a lot of your time just to deal with these very routine things. So for me, the crazy life-sucking cycle was our kitchen. The dishes were we never ran out of dirty dishes, okay? We never did. They were always there. We had so much stuff that we could dirty up before I would actually have to do the dishes, that just doing the dishes felt overwhelming. And when I would come downstairs to have my Bible study time, to have this time of like filling my cup, I would encounter this messy kitchen and I would feel so discouraged, sidetracked, and I felt like I had to at least do this before I could do anything else. And so it would take up all of this time and I would miss out on my time with the Lord to really set the stage for my day. Right along with that was our laundry. It was an area in our home that truly made me feel like a failure as a mother. I felt like my kids couldn't do anything without me, which is just an overwhelming way to live life. They should be able to find the clothes that they need and dress themselves. They couldn't because there were clean piles of laundry all over our bedroom. The stuff that they needed, they just could not find because it wasn't where it needed to be, which meant they had to depend on me to get dressed every single morning, which only just made me feel like I was running in a million different directions and I was clearly failing as a mother. And right along with that were the toys. There was no doubt about my intention for our kids to learn how to clean up after themselves. But when it came to toys, they had more than they could manage. And so trying to keep the toys cleaned up in our home, it never worked. It always led to arguing. I always felt like something was wrong. Working on other things like paper clutter, sentimental items, pictures, china, all of those things were important. And we'll work on some of those things as we go, but streamlining these time suckers is really what freed up the time and the energy for me to declutter other areas of our home and to maintain them. Now, for you, those may not be the pain points. Maybe it's hair products or clothes that don't fit anymore, or a cluttered laundry room that causes you to not really even want to go in there to do laundry. Maybe you just have too many coffee cups and it's hard for you to get to the ones that you want because they always seem to be floating in and out. Spending some time in your landing pad can really help you to think through some of those areas where you just feel like you are running on the hamster wheel of life. Look at those pictures. Spend some time in prayer, asking for God to reveal the places where He really wants for you to be working in your home. There is a really good book, or I guess art. It's not really a book. It's not really an article. It's just a wonderful piece of writing. It's just a really wonderful piece of writing that has given me a good visual of how my faith intersects with my home. And it's called My Heart, Christ's Home, or Christ's Home, My Heart. I should know these things, shouldn't I? I'll link it in the description below. I don't know why, but when we were looking to sell our house and buy this house, I looked at this house on Zillow, and for some reason, I don't know why, it just stuck in my head that when I read these passages, that is the mental picture that I get, is that the pictures of that house. So as you are reading through this, it may not even be your house that you envision as you kind of get this visual perspective. But in the writing, he goes through each area of our home, which is our heart, and talks about the way that the Lord comes in and fills those spaces and takes out the things that don't need to be there and really just finds that place to dwell with us. It's a beautiful picture, and I would really love for you to read it when you are in your landing pad. Which leads us to our final tip, and that is to fully engage your faith in this journey. We can sometimes want to compartmentalize life and say that our faith is something separate from the everyday practices in our home. In fact, I have had comments in the past where people have been downright appalled that I talked about the Bible and decluttering in the same video. Chances are pretty good they bailed a while ago and you're still here because you get it. Our faith is meant to be an integral part of everything that we say, do, and think. Leaving God out of this process of simplifying our lives just doesn't seem like it makes sense. So if you too have fallen off the wagon like I have, I want to invite you to take a front row seat as we go back to the basics of decluttering. And if you are here for the faith-based decluttering content, please comment below. I love to hear from you, and I read each and every comment. Thanks so much for watching, and until I see you again, keep fighting the good fight.